Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and Tech Advice Life video interview. Today I'm joined by Dr. Lars Reinkemeyer. He's the Chief Evangelist at Celonis. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Alex. A pleasure being here.
Thank you for taking the time. Now, Lars, before we continue, can you please recap the Celonis and the Process Intelligence story?
It was a pleasure, Alex. Look, the story with Celonis started 2011, some 13 years ago, when three students came across a great innovation from a professor in the Netherlands, which was called process mining. They felt like, hey, this kind of X-ray of business processes does have a huge potential. So these three fellows, they went around and spoke to some companies, and initially also I came across them feeling when I was at Siemens that the idea of X-raying business processes, understanding business processes, understanding where a process goes wrong is very powerful. So we started more than 10 years ago with the first use cases there, looking into where processes are broken, where processes are delayed, where processes are causing a lot of effort, manual effort. And across those 10 years, the whole capability has taken an amazing evolution in the sense of not only identifying where a business process is going wrong, but also becoming a kind of virtual assistant where the system itself does help people to identify, but then also to remediate processes and make life much easier for people. So across those 13 years, the company of Celonis has taken quite a steep evolution. Today, we got more than 3,300 people around the world working for Celonis, got an evaluation of $13 billion, and take pride in our customers having confirmed more than 5 billion of value to date.
I can remember when Google first launched its Google Desktop for Windows, and it was a way of searching everything on your computer as easily as you could search everything on Google, on the internet. And it was sort of an example of this whole digital transformation, which we've heard about for the last decade. But process mining is, I guess, on that particular path, except even earlier, taking advantage of all the benefits of technology to be able to look at a whole swathe of information and extract a lot of insights very quickly for the benefit of the company. And you guys have been ahead of the curve for a long time.
Absolutely. Let me give you one example. One of the first things which we did there at Siemens is that Siemens was very much into process modeling. So people designed the process as they're supposed to be. And then with process mining, we compared and said, hey, look, this is the process, how you assume a purchase order, a customer order is going through the organization. And this is a reality, and people were blown away since we saw that we have like 900,000 different process variants, how a customer order can go through the organization from a order intake till Siemens gets the money from the customer. So it's like Googling the processes. It's like visualizing what's really in there, making it convenient for users to see the full complexity, and then obviously saying, okay, so what? What do we do with that? And how do we improve that to make processes much more efficient? And how can we help companies to work with this insight to take defined actions, and ultimately also improve and realize value with the insight which we're providing.
Yeah. Now we're going to talk more about process mining and process intelligence in a moment, but the title of Chief Evangelist sounds like a dream tech job. I want a job like that, right? Except I sort of am, except for my own little piece of the publishing sphere. But what does that mean you do on a day-to-day basis? And what does this mean for the future of Celonis's capabilities for customers?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really happy to be kind of, to have this role of chief evangelist, since if you love what you do and do what you love, I think it's the best what you can accomplish there. And basically my mission is to help companies with the experience which I've gained across more than 10 years with Celonis, with process mining, with process intelligence, and to help companies how to apply this amazing capability. So my mission is to speak with companies, advise companies, coach on their transformational journey, help them to use the technology in the sense of driving action and impact across an organization. My mission is to, speak on conferences and basically evangelize on this whole capability of process intelligence, on this whole capability of Celonis helping companies to identify where a process is broken, to help them to improve those processes, help them transform processes from manual touches towards high degree of automation, from a lot of rework towards high efficiency, from a lot of, approval steps, which many companies find there, to remediating those kind of approval steps and making the life smoother and easier for people. So in essence, as a chief evangelist, my mission is very much to bring the capability to the people, to the customers, to the organizations, and not only the technology, but also from the operational side, how to adopt it. Since in my experience, technology is the one pillar, but the other even more important part is to drive change and get adoption across an organization. As an evangelist, so I share a lot of experience which I have, how to engage with a sponsor, how to build an operating model, how to get this whole motion into an organization, that people adopt their capability and then drive transformation across the organization.
Now, as you've explained, you've been around process mining for a long time. You were also doing work in that sphere for Siemens. So how did you get involved into that? Was that something you were introduced to at Siemens? And what's the short version of how this capability has changed since you were first introduced to it?
Yeah, at Siemens, I came across it more than 10 years ago when I was in charge of business intelligence. And I felt it's a different capability, since it's not about data analytics. It's not so much about, reporting KPI, like there's other capabilities like Tableau, ClickView, SAP Analytics Cloud, whatever you name it there. But I felt like with process mining, you can not only see the process inefficiencies, but you can also remediate, you can improve, you can help the people by proactive alerting, by showing them this is a process where they have a delay, where they have a issue which causes a lot of manual touches, and then help them to improve those processes. So that's where the journey started 10 years ago. And initially, we looked very much into seeing what's going wrong. And then in the later years, we started alerting people, supporting people, and doing their work more efficient. At Siemens, I established a community of more than 6,000 active users across the whole value chain, from procurement, finance, manufacturing. Established a COE with some 40 people, and I think it's been an amazing support for transforming Siemens from a lot of manual, inefficient processes to more high efficiency, and it's been a great experience for me working for that company.
Now, your first book was Process Mining in Action, and you followed that up this year with the release of Process Intelligence in Action. So what's the difference between the two concepts?
I think the main difference is very much the evolution, from process mining, like getting the insight and seeing, oh, there's something happening, towards bringing in additional intelligence and not only alerting people of saying, hey, there's something going wrong, but also enabling them with proactive support in executing things smarter. So as an example, what our process intelligence platform does is that it brings up payment blocks or delivery blocks or late payments. And that's something which we show to the users like every morning or a couple of times per day, where we bring that to their attention. And then with a kind of batch processing, they can just click and execute to remove the payment blocks, the delivery blocks, or make the payments right away there. So helping them to make their work smarter. And that's where we bring the intelligence into the platform, and where we leverage the insight provided with process mining to allow people to work in a smarter and more intelligent manner.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence shortly, but clearly, we're living in the era of things being able to be autonomous and much smarter. So it's only natural you've gone from process mining to process intelligence. And in your latest book, there are 12 use cases, including Siemens, where, as we've discussed, you work for a long time, but also Bosch and BMW, PepsiCo and Reckitt. So what are some of the most interesting findings that you can share without giving the entire book away?
Yeah, well, it would be a bit tight, but no, look, I mean, I think the three key takeaways is first, that this whole process intelligence, process mining is not a once-off. Siemens has shared a chapter and experiences in my first book 3 years ago, and they've again written a chapter here which shows the continuous innovation and evolution for such a company as Siemens, where there's always something new. There's always a new edge, how to use the technology, for example, for resilient supply chain. So in the first book, they wrote about the pure order processing, and now they're writing about a much more end-to-end process on supply chain and how they've been able to build a resilient supply chain across a global organization. So that's one key topic. Second key topic is that in the second book, supply chain is a major issue. Supply chain, as it has been a key challenge for many companies, specifically since COVID, and where companies like Reckitt and Kimberly-Clark and Siemens share how they're using process intelligence to build a more resilient, more efficient supply chain across global complex organizations. And third key point, which is probably different in the book, is that it has a much stronger focus on value, how companies can realize value by using the process intelligence capability, and which also indicates an evolution of what we've been seeing there, from getting the insight and saying, hey, I got great transparency, towards driving action. Okay, now what do people do with that kind of insight? And now also measuring tangible value by allowing people to see where can I avoid duplicate payments, where can I identify payment term deviations and remediate these, how can I improve these days of sales outstanding. So a whole range of different value drivers where we have taken a strong journey there towards advising companies how they can measure and realize value by applying the capability of Celonis.
And one of the recent interviews that I did with your colleague Pascal Kuba and one of the executives from a New Zealand company called Zespri that grows the famous kiwi fruit that they sell around the world, and they've been using the Celonis platform, and they've had millions of dollars in savings after applying the platform. And this platform supports many areas, as you've described: digital transformation, system transformation, the supply chain. And you just explained a little bit about this, but from your documents, I understand that supply chain is up to 60% of the work that you do for clients. So why does the platform have such a big impact on the supply chain?
Well, supply chain is a key topic, since companies are really struggling in getting, first of all, transparency across their supply chain, and we can help them there with what we call an object-centric process mining, which allows companies to define one object from customer order to manufacturing to shipping to invoicing, so to have one stringent object which goes across the whole complex supply chain. So Siemens, for example, is processing more than 30 million items per year. And if you imagine the supply chain, the complexity they have from customer order intake to manufacturing, procurement, logistics, and then also the invoicing. So this whole full specific core supply chain there, it is massive. It is massive and lots of inefficiencies, where you have overstock, where you have late deliveries, where you have a lot of manual touches, rework, so a lot of inefficiencies. And that's where our platform does allow them not only to get a transparency about those inefficiencies, but then also helps them to make the process smarter and smoother and more efficient. So supply chain is a big challenge for many of our customers. Also, it has a lot of money involved, obviously, since if you imagine a company like Siemens, which has 16 billion euros of inventories, raw material and finished goods. And if you help them to understand the supply chain impact by understanding what is a supplier performance, what is a delivery time, delivery reliability, and thus allow them to reduce the inventory by a couple of percent. This is huge impact. This is huge financial impact. And again, it's for us, it's all about helping companies driving value by using the Celonis capability.
So Lars, these days companies have a number of different platforms at their disposal. We have ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. We have CRM systems, the customer relationship management, MES systems about the manufacturing and the plants. And so where does the Celonis platform sit with those existing systems? Does it replace them? Does it work with them? What is the story? For those who are wondering and have already got those systems in place, how does Celonis improve and help with making all of that much more efficient?
Yeah, Alex, we don't replace those transactional systems like what you mentioned, ERP, MES, CRM systems. But if you look at it from a company perspective on a supply chain, many companies are struggling since they have just these young systems. They have a Salesforce system, they have an SAP Oracle system, they have a manufacturing system. And those systems don't talk to each other. Those systems don't provide one seamless end-to-end process. And that's where Celonis can add the value there by providing a transparency layer on top of that, which for a supply chain allows a company to get a full transparency on one object, saying, okay, this is the customer order which is coming in via my customer relationship management system. Then it's being processed in my ERP system for logistics, for example, or finance information. Then it's going through manufacturing, which again is a different system, you know. And today there's so many companies which are struggling and they cannot follow a customer order across the whole value chain of their organization. And that's where Celonis provides this unique transparency that based on one object, you can follow this through. And if the customer calls you and says, hey, where's my order here? Is it processed as a customer order? Yes, it is, you know. Is it already in manufacturing? Yes, this is a stage in manufacturing. Is it already being shipped and invoiced? Yes, it is. So you have this full transparency. And that's the unique capability of the Celonis platform to be a seamless transparency and execution layer on top of transactional systems, which allows the user to do their job in a much more efficient way. And what we also do is that, you know, we can then not only show people what is the status of the process or the order, for example, but also we can allow them to drive action in the transactional system by saying, okay, now there's a payment block for my customer order here, or my purchase order, and they can just write back in the transactional system. So as a layer on top of the transactional systems, we can also execute and write back into any of those systems. And we're basically working with connectors to more than 100 different transactional systems. That is a key competency which we've built the last 10 years.
Well, clearly it's been very successful. The example I gave before was with Zespri, saving millions of dollars. So there's some clear, you know, and very distinct values that people are gaining from the Celonis platform. But what are some of the other distinct values of your methodology that we should know about before I start asking you about AI?
Yeah, you know, I mean, value is the name of our game, and that's why we defined a methodology where we identify value, we frame value, and then we help companies to realize value. What does it mean? So in the first step, identifying value, we got the experience that a company like Zespri or other companies from Benchmark, they have inefficiencies in ship not billed, in payment term deviations, in manual touches. So there's a whole range, whole portfolio where we know by experience that these are inefficiencies which we can estimate. First of all, let's identify the value. Then we take some data and we have an in-depth discussion with the people who are in charge of the processes, saying, hey, this is where we found a duplicate payment. Do you think there is more? This is where you have like 60% late delivery rate. Can we help you to improve that? This is where you've had a lot of late payments. Can we support you in remediating that? And then based on this frame value, where we have a specific agreement with the process owner saying, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and let's work on that. We help them, the companies, to realize value. And ultimately, you know, our mission is to help companies realizing value. Like Zespri has realized millions of dollars, and every company, you know, we work with, we have a very strong focus. We have more than 60 companies or customers which have realized more than 10 million of value. And we have more than 220 customers which have realized more than 1 million of value. And this is just the beginning. So we are very passionate about helping companies identifying, framing, and then also realizing value.
And that's also, I guess, a very short version of the customer onboarding and basically the life cycle of how you start working with a company and the end result.
Absolutely. It's like coming in with an X-ray, you know, saying, hey, this is where we believe you have inefficiencies here, and then let's go for it. You know, let's start with a very focused proof where we look, for example, into duplicate payment term deviations, which is very quick to deploy. You know, like in 1-2 months, you can realize the first value there. And once this is made click, then you can scale across the global organization. So that's a typical journey which we have with our customers.
Yeah, but some of those business owners must be quite surprised at how things were always being done in a certain way. And as you say, once you put this X-ray and you can actually see what's really happening, it must be quite eye-opening.
It is. We got American companies, you know, like which have identified 35 million and realized 35 millions in shipped, not billed. You know, so it's amazing how inefficient sometimes those processes are, and people are always surprised if we show them, hey, you get a shipment here which hasn't been invoiced for 12 months, or you got a duplicate payment which you made to a supplier, and they, wow, so it's always quite mind-blowing if people find out how inefficient processes are in real life.
Now, obviously, I've mentioned AI a couple of times. Generative AI has been the flavor of of this decade, basically, over the past couple of years. I mean, it's still not 2 years since OpenAI launched ChatGPT, but machine learning has been with us and it's been improving for decades. So, what difference has ever more advanced machine learning and now generative AI made to process intelligence beyond what we've already sort of discussed about how obviously the whole system has become much more intelligent thanks to the power of software and all those algorithms?
Yeah, let me explain with an analogy. That like process mining was like X-ray. So you could provide an X-ray, show somebody this is where you got an issue there. And then the X-ray obviously got smarter with MRI, with high resolution, and then also alerting, saying what's happening. And in the future, what this technology is going to do is that it's going to auto detect. Okay, this is where Lars got a shade. This is the therapy, and let's do a cure, or let's do a treatment now there. And we're basically doing the same. So we started with doing X-rays of companies' processes. Process Intelligence is providing the first support with proactive alerting and helping people to see where the inefficiencies are and remediate these. And with Gen AI, this is a whole new game changer. Since with Gen AI, we see that in our first pilot customers, they get a smart co-pilot, which not only detects saying, hey, this is a root cause for a late shipment, but also suggests what to do. And obviously the next step then is going to take action by saying, all right, if I detect that this shipment to my customer is late, I'm going to alert my customer saying there's a late shipment, or I take another alternative action in there. So basically the whole evolution, what we're seeing with Gen AI there is that the system will become much smarter. And in a sense, if you think about it, you might wonder why today companies still have like hundreds or thousands of people processing purchase orders or customer orders, which is not really required. Why wouldn't those companies have a Gen AI smart application which is processing purchase orders and customer orders, or at least 95% of that, and only exception based you have a human interaction. So there's a whole new game which is coming up, which we are keen and working on. It's not easy. Like there has been a hype of expectation, obviously, since everybody last year started to work with ChatGPT, saying, "Oh, this is cool. It does write me my text. It does write me my invitation, whatever," and which is very well applicable. But applying the same capability to processes and to a business environment where you have to be accurate, where you have to be reliable, where you have to have the right data at the right time for the right person, it's much more complex. So, and that's where technology is challenged, where we have a approach where we build a process intelligence graph as a data backbone, since this whole machine learning AI obviously can only work if there's appropriate data, if there's sufficient data. And that's where currently we're working with our customers to build this data backbone, which then allows them to get the right advice from a co-pilot, advising them saying, this is something which is going wrong, and this is what I advise you to do. And by that, taking more and more action in the processes and process efficiencies.
Now, you're coming to Australia in October. So what will you do when you are down under?
Yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward. And first of all, I'm going to enjoy the great country, the nice people. I have some good time there with some old friends, and then obviously as an evangelist, I'm very much looking forward to meeting some partners, some customers, and also some prospects. Talking about what we've got there as innovations and advising them on how they can accelerate their journey. We're also going to have a conference on the 15th of October, the OPEX conference, which is on process excellence, and where I'm going to give a keynote. So very much looking forward to being in Australia in early October.
And then in late October, you're off to the Celosphere conference in Munich, the big Celonis conference, and I'll also be attending that. So how will you be participating as Chief Evangelist? No doubt you'll be giving some big talks as well.
Yeah, the Celosphere is our annual conference. We expect more than 3,000 people there who are passionate about process mining. And Celosphere is very much about innovation. So some speeches about innovation, but also about the community, since it's quite a unique community where we bring together people. So I'm going to have a couple of workshops there with our what we call Champions League. So those customers which have realized more than 10 million, 10 million of dollars of value. We're going to talk about what we call the valuable fuck up stories. So where everybody's going to share what didn't work and biggest failures, and it's all about learning, inspiration. It's an exchange. And what I love most about this Celosphere is that companies, large companies, they get together, they share their experiences, they openly talk, they openly inspire each other. So it's for me, it's a huge, amazing festival of meeting bright people with an ambitious way to use the capability and drive impact.
Well, I certainly look forward to Celosphere, and no doubt there's going to be some more announcements about what's coming in the platform in the future, and other things about AI. I mean, all yet to be unveiled at the event. But I always like to ask some final questions, and the first one is about the future. So what do you think process intelligence will look like by the end of the decade?
Yeah, imagine somebody in procurement who's got a co-pilot which does 95% of all those purchase order processing on the exception base, needs to look into what's going wrong here. Imagine somebody in charge of supply chain, which has a smart co-pilot advising the user where to improve the supply chain, how to reduce working capital. Imagine somebody who's interacting with customers and supporting him to process customer orders in a smarter manner and interact with customers. So there's a whole range, of things across the organization where AI and those co-pilots will make life easier for people and more efficient. So I think it will tremendously change the way how organizations are going to work.
Yeah, and I'm sure, I mean, some of those things will be coming a lot sooner than the end of the decade. And some of those things, by the end of the decade, we won't even have realized that AI could help us do that process intelligence had evolved that quickly. But we've got the next 4 or 5 years to find out.
Absolutely. I think it's coming step by step. And Celosphere is going to reveal a couple of amazing use cases. We've been piloting with some large global companies for more than a year, and they're going to share what they've innovated, how they're using it. So I can promise it's going to be quite exciting to see this already this year, and then step by step, obviously accelerating.
Yeah. Now, my third last question is one that I always love to ask, and that's if you could please share a memory of your first personal computer.
Well, my first computer, I remember well, there was a Macintosh, Apple Macintosh. I've always been an Apple person, since I always loved this smart user interface, the intuitive usage, like seeing, okay, on my Macintosh, what can I do? Drag and draw, have windows. So I felt this was quite innovative, and I was always very much into ease of usage. Same back then, like today with Celonis. For me, the key point is always, how can life be as easy as possible for the person who's sitting in front of the screen?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I mean, my first computer was in 1979, which was even before the Mac, and that was very much, it was using the basic operating system. There was no mouse then; it was all keyboard commands. And I mean, I think kids today have got no true idea about how much technology's evolved. They've got it so much easier these days. And with AI, we're going to have this natural language interface where you just talk to your computers, like we saw in Star Trek, but in a much more intuitive way. I mean, I can't wait until we can think into our computers. I mean, that's coming as well. With Elon Musk, he's working on that.
Yeah, probably it's going to exactly. You have something in your brain, whatever it is. But it's amazing if you think about it. When I was studying, there was no internet, there was no mobile phone, and my kids, I got 2 boys. They ask me, so how did you survive? How do you live? How do you communicate?
Yeah. Well, you remind them that humanity's been around for millions of years, with stone tools and all the rest. So clearly we can live without the technology, but it's so much nicer with today's tech.
It is.
Now, my second last question is to ask if you could please share some of the best advice that you've received in life to help you get where you are today.
Well, I think my father taught me always to stay curious and always to to keep learning. I think that probably was for me a very good advice there, in the sense of keeping my curiosity, keeping my openness for innovation, and always trying to grasp what's new, what's innovative. Like also this whole thing about AI. It's quite amazing what it can support you, but it's not easy to adopt. To be honest. I mean, for my book, I wanted to make the picture on the book cover myself. So it took me 3 months to work with DALL-E, to provide the right prompts for DALL-E to draw a nice picture there. But that's what I love, like this curiosity and openness for technology and keeping learning.
And look, for us, we've had to learn how to use these things. For the next generation, they're born with it. It's be much more natural for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's also where this new generation has got a huge opportunity. For me, AI is such a disruptive power where it's going to remodel many of the business models. I think Google is challenged by perplexity as a new way of looking for data. eBay, why do you have to key in things? I tell my boy, why don't you use an AI to support you in positioning things in eBay? So there's so many things which are going to change, and I think it's a huge opportunity for the next generation.
So, Lars, what is your final message to the viewers and readers?
I think final message, first of all, is hopefully you got an appetite for process intelligence, and have a look into what it's all about. Maybe you want to also check out my book there and a couple of articles which I did. And I think final message to the audience, really very much stay open to innovation, embrace what it can help you to do with. But apart from that, keep enjoying your everyday's life, and see how technology can provide you more time to do the things which you love most in your life.
Well, I'll certainly have a link to both books in the article that accompanies this video, and to some previous Celonis video interviews that I've done. So Dr. Lars Reinkemeyer, Chief Evangelist at Celonis, thank you so much for taking the time. I look forward to meeting you in person at Celosphere, and I do hope we can speak again.
Alex, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and look forward to seeing you at Celosphere.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.